Hey guys, it is Rachel Feldman. A lot of coaches have been asking me, Rach, how did you do this launch? How did you build this business in the health and wellness industry without losing your mind? Because I'm just like you. I had kids, I had a lot of different time commitments. And so I had to make it really simple, really easy, and really doable. The other day we talked about launching and what I call this 2, 2, and 2 method. I believe 100% if you are a new coach or you are a coach that hasn't had traction in your business, you have to adopt this method. It's what I taught in launch school that I created many years ago for health and wellness coaches who were struggling or they were doing it on their self, which is by themselves, which is the majority of you guys. The top 10% have Facebook ads, they pay a marketing team, they have a virtual assistant. The majority of you don't. And so if you're in that majority, like many of us who start our business and we don't have a team, I just want to show you what this 2 and 2 and 2 method. I'm only going to cover the first 2 weeks. So I want to show you an example of something that I created. You can create this on your own if you're to do it, because this is what creates, this is what actually creates what we call the pre-buzz, the like story. Before you even put out a list builder, I call it like the 2 weeks of setting the stage. For some of you that have more what I call crunched launch times, maybe you have to launch like in a month, you still have to do the 2 and 2 method, which means that you're creating a pre-buzz in 2 weeks and then you're launching with open cart for 2 weeks with some kind of incentive of price or bonuses, all those extra cool things that you see when you're, being marketed to, or that you're told, in any different, from any different digital marketer, not even in the wellness industry, digital marketing 101. I highly encourage you to get on the list of Ryan Deiss, Deiss. He does have a great book called The Invisible Selling Machine. Talks a lot about the basics of digital marketing. And it's really important, guys, whether you work offline, online, JV relationships, one-on-one, group, we still need to understand how to get our clients. They don't just opt in to a challenge or a workshop or a webinar. People's time, no matter what time of the year it is, people's time is valuable. Your time is valuable. And so when you're thinking about your ideal client, you want to make sure that you've really nailed it. And that's why in the 2 + 2 + 2 method, it allows you to do a lot of what we call the pre-dating, that dating phase before they actually convert. It's like the courting part of dating. And that's what actually it is before you launch your website. Some of you are in that infancy stage before you launch your website. Maybe it's a program, maybe it's a membership in September. Maybe you're setting the stage for a membership launch, in January. This is where the pre-marketing and setting the stage for being known as the expert in the industry and also grabbing the attention of people comes in. So I'm going to just show you a little sequence. You see this a lot on social media, whether you are a Jasmine Star lover or you're like me, you're a total, I love her, but I'm also a geek for going on YouTube and binge watching social media experts, content planners, anybody who talks about launch, because there's all these different kind of strategies. You will see that there's some key words in here, and you will see a lot of different what I call like showstoppers. And I call that just with like social media as you want to stop the show. You want somebody to stop and go, doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that your content shouldn't relate to your niche. It's that everything does relate back to your niche and your signature content pillars, which really is what you build your signature business on, and how you define your signature 3 freebies and your signature 3 workshops. So look how we have a bunch of different words going out. We have weight, we have anti-inflammatory, we have some questions, those big questions that you can ask. We have like surprising benefits, the smoothie bowl. You can, of course, lead them in the text, hey, DM me. I call it the no opt-in, opt-in. Many of you asked me what different platforms are great. Personally, this wasn't around when I started. MailerLite, you get free, 0 up to 1,000 people. You just need to have a full website done with a domain, everything. That is the prerequisite. Or I do like ConvertKit. I just think it's a great place to start. You can do landing pages, sales pages. You can even do sales pages and landing pages on Wix, on WordPress, on Squarespace, lead pages. But to keep it really simple, you also don't have to start with anything. There are laws, of course, where, you don't want to email all tons of people, like 30 people, like we used to do back in the day. But you can also start with a conversation, the courting before you get somebody on a date, which is really the conversion, where you're saying like, hey guys, in today's live, I'm going to talk about, how I had so many gut issues for so long. And, one of the things that really prompted me to become a coach and specialize in gut and help so many women with issues like bloating and, low sex drive and, weight loss and metabolism and blood sugar, is because I struggled with all of these. Here, in today's topic, we're going to talk about like the 5 power-packed lunches that you can eat if you're an on-the-go type of woman like me, and ones that, won't cause bloating and all these uncomfortable, flatulence and stuff of that nature. I don't want you to be constipated, which leads to skin issues, can lead to food allergies, toxic buildup. And that is exactly why, if you want to direct message me, send me a personal message or even an email, feel free, because I want to know exactly how I can help you. Getting to the point, guys, where you can just say that like really comfortably, that is so essential for this business. I don't think we talk enough about what I call that discovery session or the discovery conversation. We talk a lot about like, should it be this funnel? Should I do this email sequence? It's not should, it's does this convert with my ideal client? I like to use this word love language. It means like, how does your ideal client want to be spoken to? What engaging questions do they need to have here? Actually, move this down. It's easier to see here. Make that a different color. I'm gonna make it a yellow, make it a hot pink to just pop it. What kind of questions do you need to ask also to kind of get clear on what your client stops? You might specialize in gut like I did, like I just gave that example. But all these people will come to me with bloating, acid reflux, skin issues. I'm not a skin expert. That's not my niche. I'm not an anti-aging expert. But I started to see what people would come to me with, most importantly, because I would ask questions. What are you guys struggling with? These were my problems. That's in that 2 weeks. You take that 2 weeks to test. You take that 2 weeks if you are working with, of course, a marketing company, or you're great at Google Analytics and reading all that. I'm not. That's not my zone of genius. I'm a coach. Been to hell and back with my own story, my kids, my husband. They are my why. And I, on another time we'll get into really like, why did I create Rachel's Wellness? Why did I become a coach? I think I talk about it a lot, but for this training, I really want you to think specifically and ask yourself, do you really know what your ideal client is struggling with? Are the struggles that you had actually the person that you are attracting? That's very different than when we are in school and we're like, I'm going to create this, business that looks like this. We all go through that training, whether you're at Health Coach Institute, Precision Nutrition, FDN, one of the many functional medicine practitioner schools, IIN that I went to, any of the detox schools that I went to. It doesn't matter. I've worked with coaches from every different school. I've worked with nutritionists, dietitians, nurses who have left, functional medicine doctors, chiropractors, acupuncturists. Each one of you have your different skill sets, accolades, certificates, PhDs, etc. What is going to set you apart is the ability to communicate clearly to your ideal client and then take note of what they are actually engaging with. And so you'll see that there is a lot of, different verbiage here. Hey, here's a recipe. I did actually swap this out for those in my membership that are, vegans, a lot of plant-based power. I know I was vegan at one time, macrobiotic, raw, all these different things. And you'll see that there was a flow, a beautiful flow of kind of going through this, because what we do from that is we start to test in that 2-week period, which, guys, I really hope is now. I know that people right now is kind of a tough time. I've talked to a lot of copywriters, Facebook, masters in ads, copywriters, digital marketer planners, and a lot of different businesses. And I would say that, yes, I don't think we have metrics to compare this time to another time. But truth is, I built my business in 2010 when it was an uncertain time. And the truth is, in uncertain times, people just want you to pull back the extra fluff. They just want you to get down to the nitty gritty. And it's really imperative, which truth is, it should always be that way. But at this time, people just want to make sure when they do recommit. And I want you to even think right now, as I showed you that Canva template that I made for my membership, I want you to think about the buyer psychology, because a lot of us have deviated from people, and we're talking so much of funnels, which you guys know I love. We're talking so much of, should I launch this challenge? Should I launch this webinar? Should it be evergreen? Should I have this? Instead of saying, what does this person struggle with? What is their deep, wake up moment? The wake up fear. They may struggle with gut issues like I did, autoimmune, Lyme, Clostridia, pylori, parasitic infections, candida, yeast, heavy metals, adrenal, and I could go on. They might have all of that. But the truth is, the main part of my business, I did attract my ideal client, but I would say that there weren't as many as I thought when I first started building my business. And in that 2 years, I really struggled. I over-hustled, overworked, and I struggled a lot to understand where I went wrong. And this is what constantly coaches say to me, where have I screwed up? And I'm like, you haven't screwed up. You just have to spend more time understanding how people actually view you and what are the parts that they see. And so in that time of that 2-week period, it's a great testing period. Whether you use that kind of social media on Facebook, or you take some of those questions and you infuse them into a poll on Instagram, or you ask even in a live, hey guys, I have some few questions, tell me what's going on. And you really hone into the times that your ideal client is showing up on those platforms. And analyze it, depersonalize from your business. Stop thinking, what did I do wrong? Sometimes we have to do that, and we have to feel the feels to identify the pain and the struggle. But we also have to step back like entrepreneurs and say, where are my clients right now? During this time, and political years are really tough for Facebook always. Are they hanging out more on LinkedIn? Or do I need to reach out and build a referral network? Do I need to, during this time, start talking about all these subjects and pitch to podcast and pitch to my own doctor and chiropractor and acupuncturist who want to do some free trainings and build my list in a different way, but still be asking questions. When you send out a replay, say, hey, tell me your biggest struggles. Hop on a free call with me where we're going to talk specifically about, weight loss, metabolism. Really start to test out what your people want, or just say, hey guys, I'm looking for 5 people. I need 5 people with these core problems, who can get on and do market research. But remember this, people are only going to give their time if they feel that you have truly separated yourself from the rest of people, from the rest of coaches all saying the same thing. And that's why I showed you that example of weight loss. You might be saying, gut, 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 or keto, 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 or sugar, sugar, sugar. But it is in the definition of understanding your client's language. They might be having gut issues, but maybe they're intentionally searching on Google for anti-inflammatory foods because that's what they hear at the doctor. Or maybe they were watching the Today Show and they heard them talk about immune boosting. And so for the first time, they heard this word leaky gut. But you're talking advanced things like SIBO and Clostridia and Candida and fungus and all the things that a lot of us have experienced through, our ups and downs in our health coach life, or our human experience in this very toxic world of herbicides and pesticides and EMF waves and trauma and PTSD and epigenetics and genetics and all these things that make it so complicated to get healthy. You may just be missing the bar. And that is why I always say it's not just a beta test of a program. It's like really understanding what your ideal client really wants so that you give people what they want, but you still can lead them down the path that they really need. Doesn't mean you have to abandon, your dream of being a gut coach. It's that I realized, and I will close with this, I had this aha moment when I was willing to let go. And I started saying to people, it's funny, you're asking me about weight loss, but I don't have anywhere on my site at rachelswellness.com that says anything about weight. If anything, I talked about like a disordered eating, emotional eating, stress eating, because I'm an A-type personality. And they were like, I know, but you're such an inspiration. Like I really identify with you. You talk a lot about stress. You talk a lot about being a woman who does too much. You talk about how hard it was like in corporate. You talk about just all these things I really identify with. Person number 2, all from discovery calls, all from being on the phone, taking notes and listening, being willing to listen and being willing to test in different places, sometimes even on my personal page, especially when I didn't have a list. I didn't have links there. That's why I believe in the no opt-in, opt-in. Get people into a conversation. We always say, and IN has a line where it says, one conversation can change your life. The truth is, when you connect with one person, it can change your life because you buy from them and you trust them and you hear the things that you need to hear to actually turn from a just watcher to actually where you convert to actually a buyer, and then a lifetime buyer, a buyer that refers you, a buyer that says, you know what, you changed my life. Like I know I was only able to do like step 1 of your detox, but like you helped me to see, and I'm thinking of a person that I worked with that would have not known me if I didn't start sharing on my personal page. Like what I did is she had no idea that her husband and her didn't do well with gluten and bread. It's part of their every night. They would sit outside and enjoy that. If I didn't start testing and seeing where my ideal client was struggling with and talked about all these different issues, anti-inflammatory foods, foods that mess up your skin, foods that mess up your gut, foods that mess up your sex drive, and my experiences in that the 2 weeks before I even started leading them to a call to action, it would have not been successful. And that's what I see a lot of coaches do. We then over deliver, we then over hustle, we then overwork because the efforts have not worked. And so I really encourage you to take the next week, look at your social media and say to yourself, am I testing enough of what people want? You may have said, well, where do I get all these freebies? One freebie, one recipe guide could be broken down into 5 lunches. It doesn't have to have a perfect cover. People don't buy you for a cover. People buy you because you talk about the struggle, you talk about the mini solution, and you lead them to, the promise. Like, hey guys, in today's talk, this is what we are going to try to demystify. This is what it's like to work with me. You're giving them an idea of, giving them a taste of how surreal, how transformational it would be to work with you. And that's where we really solidify that know and trust factor. And I think that, to just ask yourself some few key questions, and I will just, end with this, is, do you really know what your ideal client is coming to you for? In those questions, when people would find me, I would say, where have you found me? And they're like, oh, I was Googling. So I knew right away that my videos on YouTube, even though they were about a myriad of different subjects, because I had no idea what my ideal client was intentionally searching for. That's the key word, intentionally. People would say, you know what, I have all these issues, but I'm really depressed about my weight. And I started seeing this consistent theme. I never wanted to be a weight coach. I struggled with that emotionally because, if anything, it was the polar opposite of this big brand message. It's like, and the weight stuff. Please, magazine, stop airbrushing, stop 17, put that on hold, because that was the beginning of my demise. Please. But I realized that is one of the biggest pain points for people, not because we're vain, because it affects our confidence, our wanting to I can't tell you how many clients came to me with a myriad of different things that emotionally, spiritually, trauma, PTSD, old stuff. And so asking yourself, what do people really want? Then depersonalizing from yourself and saying, does somebody who's looking at my social media actually know what I do? The third is, do my freebies, my workshops, and my low cost, my mid cost, and my higher cost offer actually showcase the different tiers and levels that I take a person through? Because as a new coach, maybe you're really skilled at pitching, and you're really skilled at speaking, and you're really skilled at all of those areas, or you're an extrovert and you just have that. But I would say the majority of us have to grow that confidence. It's really hard to kind of, get into a fine tune what we're going to talk about. So it's harder to kind of sell these higher ticket packages, because that requires clarity, confidence, so that clarity, confidence equals a conversion. And so just ask those beginning phase questions. And the next is to start asking people, what are your biggest struggles? You see this all over Facebook. You answer this yourself, but the truth is, are you doing this in your own efforts? Are you asking people that were past clients, what are you struggling with? If you don't have clients, asking your friends, doing case studies with, friends, family, and exercising those coaching muscles. A few questions are, hey, have you just felt like you're going to wait until Labor Day to stop eating, the pizza and stop drinking the excessive amount of alcohol? Do you feel like it's just too much right now to commit? Get a gauge of where people's psychology is. The second is, what are your biggest struggles right now? Is it weight? Is it metabolism? Is it sugar addiction? Give 3. Anything over 3 is just a little overwhelming. Take a few days, put those social media in between to kind of buffer, then ask another question. And make sure that those questions relate to your market research and what you are actually promoting, whether you're launching your website, one-on-one, membership, VIP day, groups. It doesn't matter how you coach. There are so many ways to coach whether you're doing Reiki, anything, sound bowl healing. There's so many different ways to show up in this world and change the world. Do not get stuck in the shit that everyone pushes, because the truth is, it doesn't always follow the exact plan. With that being said, please drop below any questions that you have for us. You can always go to rachelafeldman.com. I always suggest listening to podcasts and hearing from people, coaches just like you, in the thick of it, what worked for them. All right, guys, have a beautiful, fabulous Friday, and we will see you guys later. Again, Rachel Feldman, rachelafeldman.com. Bye, guys.